In the depths of despair, when the world feels like it's closing in, I often find myself grappling with an overwhelming sense of fear. It creeps in like a shadow, whispering lies that twist my thoughts into knots. The darkness can be suffocating, a heavy blanket that wraps around my heart, squeezing out the light. I've been there, in that place where hope seems like a distant memory, where every breath feels like a struggle against an unseen tide. But in those moments, I've learned something profound. Hope is not a fleeting feeling. It's a choice, a deliberate act of faith. I remember a time when everything seemed to crumble around me. I was standing at the edge of my own existence, looking down into a chasm of uncertainty. The weight of my worries was unbearable, and I felt utterly alone. It was as if I was trapped in a storm, the winds howling, the rain pelting down, and I was just a small boat tossed about on the waves. I could hear the thunder of my own doubts, the crashing waves of anxiety threatening to pull me under. But in that chaos, I found a flicker of light, a whisper of hope that beckoned me to look beyond my circumstances. I turned to God, not out of obligation, but out of desperation. I needed something greater than myself to hold on to. I needed a lifeline. I remember praying, not with eloquent words or grand gestures, but with raw honesty. I poured out my heart, my fears, my pain, and in that moment of vulnerability, I felt a shift. It was as if the storm inside me began to calm, and I could hear a gentle voice cutting through the noise. "You are not alone," it said. "I am with you." Those words became my anchor. They reminded me that even in the darkest valleys, I was never truly abandoned. God was there, walking beside me, holding my hand through the shadows. I began to understand that fear is not the absence of faith. It's a part of the journey. It's a reminder that we are human, fragile, and in need of something beyond ourselves. And in that realization, I found strength. I found courage to face the unknown, to step into the light, even when the path was unclear. I started to seek out the small glimmers of hope in my life. I learned to appreciate the beauty in the mundane, the laughter of a friend, the warmth of the sun on my face, the quiet moments of stillness. Each day became an opportunity to choose hope over fear. I discovered that hope is not a passive state. It's an active pursuit. It's about looking for the good, even when it feels like everything is falling apart. It's about trusting that God has a plan, even when I can't see it. There were days when the fear would rise up again, threatening to engulf me. I would wake up in the middle of the night, heart racing, mind racing, consumed by what ifs. But in those moments, I learned to turn my fear into prayer. I would whisper my worries to God, laying them at His feet, and in return, I felt a peace wash over me. It was a peace that didn't make sense, a calm in the storm that reminded me I was held in the hands of something far greater than my fears. I began to read the scriptures, finding solace in the promises woven throughout the pages. "Do not fear, for I am with you," echoed in my mind like a soothing balm. I clung to those words, letting them seep into my soul. I realized that fear is often rooted in the unknown, in what lies ahead. But God is not bound by time. He sees the beginning and the end. He knows the plans He has for me, plans to prosper me and not to harm me, plans to give me hope and a future. Those promises became my lifeline, a reminder that even when I can't see the way forward, I can trust the one who holds my future. As I navigated through the darkness, I found community in unexpected places. I reached out to others who had walked similar paths, sharing our stories, our struggles, and our victories. There's something powerful about vulnerability, about admitting that we don't have it all figured out. In those conversations, I found strength in shared experiences, a reminder that we are not alone in our battles. Together, we lifted each other up, reminding one another of the hope that exists even in the darkest moments. I began to see fear for what it truly is, a thief. It robs us of our joy, our peace, our ability to live fully in the present. But I refused to let it dictate my life any longer. I refused to let it hold me captive. I choose to embrace hope, to walk in faith, to trust that God is working all things together for my good. I choose to believe that even when the storms rage, there is a purpose in the pain, a lesson in the struggle. And so I stand here today, not as someone who has it all figured out, but as a testament to the power of hope. I've learned that it's okay to feel fear, to acknowledge it, but it's not okay to let it control me. I've discovered that hope is a flame that can never be extinguished, a light that shines brightest in the darkest of times. With each step forward, I am reminded that I am not defined by my fears, but by my faith. And in that faith, I find the courage to face whatever comes my way, knowing that I am held, I am loved, and I am never alone.